Hello everybody, this is Belen Diet and you're watching the E-volve show. Today we're gonna be talking about business. I don't know if maybe you have an idea or you already have a business, or sometimes you're at home and you're thinking like, oh, that would be so cool to do this business or to do this thing. So we're gonna be talking about how it's so important to be clear about what you want to do, because you need to build a really solid foundation in order to have a brighter future and a roadmap so it's easier to get where you want to be with your business. So we have a business coach today with us, and her name is Sarah Lakhani. Sarah Lakhani helps entrepreneurs to set up competitive and successful business through thoughtful and strategic business design. Great, thank you so much for being here today. We are very excited to talk to you.
I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we start by telling the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do in your business.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Lakhani. I'm a business coach, and I want to focus entirely on working now with entrepreneurs. And I work with them in order to build or make changes to their existing businesses. And I do this through supporting them get clarity on their business. I help them build out their strategies. So whether it's a brand strategy or a business strategy or a customer strategy, so do all of those. And then we put together roadmaps and action lists for them to get through. So the reason why I want to focus entirely on entrepreneurs is really linked to my reason for venturing into entrepreneurship in the first place. And that is in order to create more of the businesses that tend to give back to society. And that's why I focus on entrepreneurs and not corporates.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And how did you start with all of this? It was something like you always wanted to do, or it was something like you changed your jobs and you were like, okay, I can teach people what I've been learning. How did you come up with this project for your business?
So my job in the corporate world was management consulting. So I have 15 years of experience working across the different things that I said. So working across brand strategy and business strategy, business operations, customer strategy. So these are all things that I had done previously across 15 years, across multiple businesses, across multiple industries. And so I had the experience. I've already built the experience. I've got my own frameworks and my roadmaps that I've used previously with all my other clients. So the transition for me was actually not difficult.
Not crazy.
I didn't have to learn anything new. But I started getting some entrepreneurs actually in my network, and that's how I started building up my clients that way.
That's nice. And as you say, like, so important, like, to help entrepreneurs so we can build businesses that it helps the society, they're doing good. Like, it's always something like some people see business people like wrong, or like it's something bad, or they just want money. But nowadays we're seeing so many, well, women and entrepreneurs working in so many good businesses that support the society, and it's just like a whole new movement, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I had the option, I would probably work directly in charity, but at the same time, I wanted to have like a profitable business. And so this was my way to do it. So I work with entrepreneurs who have businesses that give back to society. And I also, through my business, also give back to society. So yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Such a good niche. I love it. Super inspiring. And then you were talking about like you help your clients with clarity. Like, that's so important, because I feel like when sometimes you have an idea, but then when you start actually to try to do it, there is so many things, so many ideas. You always go like, oh, I can do this and also this. Like, I have some friends that are starting a company now and they want to do everything, and I'm like, well, you just need to focus, do one thing. Like, what is your theory, or what do you see on your clients that they struggle with when it comes to clarity?
Yeah, so actually, you're spot on about that. And it's one of the first things that clients come to me about. And that is a lack of clarity. So, very often people will have an idea, but the idea is somewhere up, like very high level, and they can't yet explain in detail how that idea is going to work. So, you'll hear them say things like, I just need to make sure it'll work. I need to make sure I can make money doing this. Or, I have this idea, but I'm not really sure how to describe it. Or I'm still trying to figure out the best way to run this business. And so one of the first things I do with clients is this clarity piece. And a big part of that is developing a business model. And it sounds scary, but actually, when you talk about business models, you'll find that a lot of the elements in the business model are things that people have either heard that they need to do or read that they need to do, or they're already doing it. And what I like to do with this and with other things across my business as well is provide frameworks and be able to explain the different elements of a framework, because that makes it a lot easier when things are structured and packaged up nicely for people to know exactly what they need to be doing and to understand it. So one of the first things I do is develop the business model with my clients. And yeah, so I can go through a little bit of detail about that if you want.
Sure, yeah. And another thing, like for people who are not very involved in business, like a business plan is one thing and a business model is different. If you want to explain that very briefly or whatever you have in mind.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll explain a few things. So the business model, first of all, is the logic of your business. It explains how your business is going to operate, what kind of value or offer it provides its customers. And it also explains things like what your profit model is going to be, your delivery mechanism. So that those things together form your business model. A business plan, on the other hand, is an explanation of how you will be achieving what you're going to achieve across your business. So it will go into things like, what is your strategy? What do you plan on doing for marketing? What do you plan on doing to generate sales? What are the risks your business might be facing? And what are the plans in order to mitigate those risks? What does your team look like? So the two are fairly different. I do work with my clients to develop a business plan, but still the first thing you would want to do is do the business model. After the business model, you might do a business strategy. And then after the strategy, you could do a plan. So while I'm there, let me just quickly explain the difference between the business model and the business strategy. So the business model, like I said, is the logic of the business, how it operates and what kind of value it's going to provide to your customers. The strategy is that position that you want to be in, that you want your business to be in. And it's usually carving out like a very unique position for your business so that it can compete well with other similar businesses in the environment, or so that it in fact doesn't even compete because it's carved out such a unique position for itself. So these are all different things, and they're you need all of them. They're linked, but they are also very different.
Yeah, and I feel like it's sometimes like so overwhelming when you don't understand about businesses, and that's why it's so great to have people like you, Sarah, like that you have experience. Like sometimes when we start in entrepreneurship, we want to do everything because we don't have the money, or we're just like, oh, we can do that. I'll research online. But it's really a struggle. Like it takes forever because you don't get motivated, or what you say, like you're not clear. So one day is one thing, and the next day it's a different thing, and you have to start over. So I think it's so valuable that you can
Yeah.
actually sit down with your clients and be like, okay, let's get clear on what we are doing.
Yeah, that's very true. I see that a lot of people go online, and while I appreciate that they're trying to do things on their own, it saves them a lot of time and in the long run makes them money faster to
Mm.
have somebody helping them. And the problem with going out and trying to collect the information yourself is every person that you find online will have a different method and a
Mm.
different way of doing things. And if you're collecting little pieces from everyone, the pieces that you put together, they don't actually form one framework.
Yeah.
Um, and so you're in one of two positions. Either you are putting things together, but there are gaps in the middle that you're not
Mhm.
filling, or you're going to different people and you find yourself kind of doing the same thing over and over again, but in slightly different ways, because they might have similar frameworks, but they explain them a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So those are the two sort of scenarios that I've seen.
A lot, yeah. And I feel like while you're saying this also, I feel like coming back again to the clarity, sometimes like you can start doing something and then in the middle of the process, because you were not clear in the beginning of what you were doing or what you want to achieve, you've been working all these months and then things are not working correctly because it's not aligned to what you really want or what your vision was. So super
Yeah.
important that.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. What tends to happen, particularly with startups, but also with entrepreneurs, but this is a big problem in the startup world as well,
Mhm.
is that people start working on their business without the clarity and the foundations in the beginning. And then exactly what you said tends to happen, which is you've put months into your business, and then you get to a point where things start falling apart, and it's because you were missing some of the foundations, because there was something that you didn't look at, something you didn't plan for, whether it's, you didn't get your business strategy right, or you didn't validate your business idea, or it could be a number of things. But yeah, that happens very frequently, and we hear the statistics about how many businesses don't survive, or what percentage of businesses don't survive after the first year, the third year, the fifth year. And this is usually what it is. There are a number of reasons, but a lot of it has to do with their strategies.
The vision, the clarity, and everything that comes up
Yeah,
in the very beginning. So that's why it's so
absolutely.
important to have like a very solid structure in the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And
And actually, the process of going through your business model is all about clarifying what your business idea is.
mhm,
And once you start it, it's actually, you kind of you grow into it, and it becomes more exciting the more you work on it. The more clarity you get, the more excited you will be about your business.
totally. Because you see it better, you see where you want to be, so the steps to take you there. It's
Yeah,
much easier when you see it clearly, that if you have an idea but everything is blurry, like you don't know how you're gonna get there.
yeah.
Another thing that comes to my mind was like, for example, you say like you were in corporate and then you changed into entrepreneurship, but it was easy transition. Like, do you see your clients, for example, like when you just start your business, like it's a huge process in mindset, like not having your paycheck by paycheck, like how do you work with your clients about those things? Like it's something that you kind of like help them to transition and support them.
Um, so most of my clients have already been in business, and they've already had a business running. I have a couple of clients who are starting their businesses, but the majority have come to me because they had a business, or they have a business,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to make changes to it. So they either want to open up in a new market. So it is sort of like starting a new business, but mindset wise, they were
They are
already there,
already there. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other clients that I have, um, one of them is starting a business, but has worked in a family business, which also gives him that
It helps too.
entrepreneurial like background.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the second one, who is actually starting a business, again from scratch, also has had previous businesses, but is working with me to start a new business now. So I haven't had the mindset thing. What I have seen, however, is because all of them have been making changes to their business or expanding in new markets, they have they've tried many things before coming to me. And so they tend to be a little bit frustrated or overwhelmed with all the information that they've collected, or a little unmotivated, even though all of them are extremely hardworking, extremely capable, and generally motivated action takers. But after getting no results for a little while, it does sort of drain your
Yeah, that's kind of like
morale.
the entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Yeah,
Some days are
exactly.
really good, other days are not that good, and it's kind of like what you say, like just keep working and find that support in people that can keep you going in the right direction. Because if you extend that period that you don't know what you're doing for so long, then you're just gonna let it go, or you're just not gonna be, what you say, motivated with your business.
Exactly, exactly. And a lot of the first exercises that we do is about getting all of those things sorted out. And in fact, I can explain just a little bit about what that looks like,
Yeah, well,
in
let's do
case,
that.
yeah, it might be something that your listeners might be interested in trying.
Mm-hmm.
So this applies, like I said, to either a brand new idea, so brand new business,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be a change within your business if you've already got one.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing that you want to do is you go through a cycle where you start clarifying what your business idea is,
Mm-hmm.
and then you validate it. And you're going to keep doing that. And I'll explain what each one of those is actually about, but you're going to keep doing that over and over again until you get to a place where you now understand and can very clearly explain what your business is about. So when it comes to clarifying, so let's say you start there because
Mm-hmm.
that's probably where you want to start. So when you talk about clarifying, you want to start looking at who your ideal customer is.
Mm-hmm.
You want to look at what your value proposition is, and I'll explain that in just a second. You want to explain what your delivery mechanism is, so how you will deliver what you say you're going to deliver. So
Mm-hmm.
what your, the different touch points are, what systems you might need. It doesn't have to be in so much detail, but things like, you're going to sell online through a website, or you're going to go through a third party, or how's it going to work? And then finally, your profit model. So how you're going to make money, and then at least a rough estimate of how much of that is going to be profit. So it's your ideal customer, your value proposition, your delivery mechanism, and your profit model. And I'm just going to quickly explain what a value proposition is. So the value proposition is, what is it that you are doing to provide customers the things that they need? How are you delivering that thing to them? And so you need to know what the gap is, or the need that your customer has, and then how you're filling that. And the other thing that you want to be able to explain is, what's your business operation based on? So you need to know these things up front. Are you basing your business on trying to do things like a high volume with low cost? Or do you want to be premium? Do you want to be high price and low volume? Because those things are going to change everything that will come later in your business.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to change things like where you market, how you market. It's going to change the language that you use. And it's going to change, obviously, if you're looking at high volumes, you need to start creating a very, very solid marketing funnel in order to bring those volumes in. So you want to start looking at a few things like that. And then the last piece within the value proposition is, you want to look at how you'll be unique. What differentiates you from your customers? This could be one thing,
Mm-hmm.
it could be, if you are going low cost, it could be, I will deliver this at the lowest cost possible. But it could also be, I'm going to be more expensive than everybody in my market, but I'm going to deliver this one thing that nobody else does.
Yeah.
Um, And so you need to, and it doesn't have to be one, it could
Mm-hmm.
be a combination of things, particularly if you're somebody in the service or coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a combination of things. It could be, my unique experience, some of my life experiences. It could be your personality, all mixed together. That's what differentiates you from your customers. It can be the way you have your framework, or the way you explain things, or the way you engage, or how you run your sessions. All of those different things bundled together. It doesn't have to just be one.
Yeah, one thing.
Yeah. So once you've gone through this process of clarifying, so you're going through your different, the different elements of your business model, you then have to go out and validate it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs try to avoid this. And the number one reason is they don't want to talk to people about their idea until their idea is up, is running, until the business is ready.
Mm-hmm.
And people have a fear that if they talk to people about their business idea, that somebody else is going to go out and
And take it.
create the same business. Yeah. But the truth is, it's very unlikely that somebody is going to have, first of all the skills that you have that
Mm-hmm.
are going to make you, or they're going to place you in a position to be able to create that business.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have to remember that creating a business is actually a lot of work. And so it's not as likely that somebody is going to steal your business idea. It's actually more likely that if you don't do the validation exercise, you will miss a lot of very important information. And the validation exercise is basically talking to people who fall into your ideal customer bucket. If you are a business that has suppliers and partners, and if you have access to who they might be, then you could also talk to them as well. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that your product or service that you're offering is something that they need. You want to ask them questions around whether they've used similar products or services in the past, or if they currently use any products or services that are similar to yours. And you want to collect information from them around what they've absolutely loved, what they wish would be different, what they would pay more for, what changes they would make. And you can see how once you have that information, you can then feed it into your business model. So whilst you might have initially thought that you would be providing things at, on par cost with your customers, maybe now after speaking to your ideal customers, you'll find that actually it makes more sense for me to charge a little bit more, but I'm going to pack my service with a lot more features, things that my customers are not getting from anybody else. So it starts playing around with that. You could also have feedback from customers around things like touch points and delivery options if you have like a product. It could even be like experience while shopping that you can then start including into your business model.
Wow, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
a lot of things that sometimes like we don't really realize. You can actually start doing all these things even before you start your business. So it gets you in a better place that you have learned all these things about your clients, because it's what you say, like people don't want to talk about it because they're gonna take their business or for rejection, like if they're like, oh, that's not a good idea, then you feel a little bit down and you're like, oh, it's true, maybe it's not a good idea, so I better don't talk to anybody about my idea.
Yeah, yeah. And actually this whole process of going through the clarification and validation, you come out of it with so much clarity. You know exactly. I know that when I started, my definition of who my ideal client was or my ideal customer, that changed. My business model changed. My value proposition changed. They all changed. Even my profit model changed. And the thing is, when one changes, usually the other ones will start changing too. So if you think about your ideal customer, if initially you were offering a service that was very niche maybe, and you were going for a very high price point. And as you talk to these ideal customers, you realize, well, they don't really need this product. But then you realize perhaps another type of customer would need it. But the way they want to receive your service or your product is a little bit different. So that starts changing your value proposition, your delivery mechanism will change, and your profit model will change. They're all connected. So coming out of this exercise, you have a very clear idea of who your customer is. You have a very clear idea of what it is that you need to deliver to them. And you'll have some details around that that will give you a lot to start with. And then you'll also know exactly what you need to do in order to deliver that service or that product to them. And you'll finally get clarity on how you're going to make money. I think the how you're going to make money is actually a very important piece. There are people who start their businesses and they don't think about how they're going to make money. And months, sometimes even years in, they start having a lot of difficulty trying to monetize what they've created. So it's important to have that figured out before you start.
Totally.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah, it's so important, all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking to your customers always should get you very, very excited. If you talk to people who you are going to be working with day in and day out, and you don't enjoy speaking to them, you don't enjoy finding out about, their needs, their problems, then you probably should be doing something a little bit different. Because the more you get to know this person, the more fun you will have in crafting the best solutions to serve them.
Yeah, and what you were like going back to doing good in business, it's kind of like that's what you're here for, like just to serve your clients and make things for them better and just help them out, like products that are gonna like support them in their lives. So it's just like the main thing. Like if you're not enjoying what you say, talking to your clients and discovering how you can serve them better, then maybe it's not your niche. Maybe you need to do something else.
Yeah, of course. Some of the questions I really like to ask my clients, and I also like to tell my clients to ask their customers, is you want to know your customer's relationship with your product or service. And so I touched on this a little bit earlier when I said things like, have they bought similar products or services in the past, or are they currently using similar ones? But you also want to know things like, why do they actually need this product or service?
Yeah.
What impact is it going to have on their life? Does it have an impact only for them, or does it have an impact for the people in their lives as well? So, for example, their family members or somebody else who's close to them. And then the opposite of that, what impact is there on their life if they don't get your product or service? And that also starts giving you that purpose, So if you've picked a customer that you've truly fallen in love with, that you really, really want to serve and work with, knowing the impact that your product or service has on their life and what impact not having your product or service will have on their life, that really motivates you as well.
Yeah, for your business. So
Yeah.
Sarah, I saw you have some resources on your website. Do you want to talk about them for all of you guys who are watching? If you have an idea, if you want to start your business, I think this can support you a lot with your clarity and everything.
Absolutely. So my website is saralakhani.com. That's SarahLakhani.com. If you go to saralakhani.com/free, you'll find a business success roadmap. And this business success roadmap is a guidebook. I think it's 17 pages, and it walks through 5 different phases. And it starts with what we just discussed today. So getting that clarity on your business, it then moves into a few other phases, the end of which you will have the foundations for your business. And so it'll cover things like your brand strategy and your business strategy and your customer strategy, and a couple of other things in there as well. And it'll make you very clear on what it is that you're doing in your business and the direction you are headed in, which is why I call it a roadmap as well.
That's so great. Yeah, so everybody has to jump in and take a look on it, because I'm gonna do it just to review everything. It's always better to look into those things, and just even if you have already a business, you put everything into place, and some things might change, some things can be more clear. So Sarah, thank you so much for sorry, I cut you. You were gonna say something.
Oh, I was going to say, actually, with all of my programs and things like this, like my business success roadmap, I actually use them myself as well. So I'm with you on that. Like at any time, if I am a little bit stuck, I'll use my own stuff. I'll go and I'll pull it out and I go through the exercises to make sure that I'm on track and get new ideas.
That's so good. Yeah. So we have to all do it then. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.